Good evening and welcome to Convergence. Hopefully, I didn't manage to break anything on the way in there. My name's Screenager and welcome to our Friday night show about all NCSoft games. I'm joined today by Will. Say hi, Will.
Hi everyone. Do you want me to
Uh,
introduce myself? Tell them who I am?
no, I'm going to wait for everyone to say hi back. I'm going to wait for the chat to say hello.
Okay.
Um, As you can see, we're not joined by Pseudo at the moment. Pseudo's not feeling very well, so she is going to go to bed, and she's going to join us next week, hopefully, when we talk about WildStar. Tonight, we're going to be talking in the Convergence mostly about Guild Wars 2 and the feature pack that they've brought us recently. As you will all know, or some of our new watchers will not necessarily know. Convergence is our weekly Friday night show. We talk about a number of NCSoft games, mainly Guild Wars 2 and WildStar. We are a no hold bar show, so we have our opinions. We love the games that we're playing, but we do want to see them get better, and we will hopefully give you some insight into these games. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let Will introduce himself, because many of you won't know who Will is. Well, who are you? Where do you come from? And what do you do? Or never
Um,
mind the what you do, but who are you and where do you come from?
I don't do anything. I'm probably tell from my accent from Britain, and I am a gaming blogger. I've been blogging about Guild Wars for about 4 years now. I've been playing it since the early days of Prophecies. Um, on my blog, I tend to write about like a variety of gaming subjects, but Guild Wars 2 mainly. In the past, I've been kindly called a haughty windbag by some commentators. So I hope to sort of convey some of that feeling today to you.
You're going to be haughty towards us
Well, maybe a little bit,
a little bit.
yeah.
Spiky. Um, you all know me. My name's Screenager. Also known as Ed, or Wild Scottish person that half the stream don't understand. I've been playing Guild Wars since the beta. I've been playing it for, well, this must be what, it's just about 2 years now that Guild Wars has been out.
2 years, yeah.
Yep, I've been Guild Lead of Afterlife, and I have hopefully a decent amount of experience in the game to talk about it. Well, have you been playing the game for long yourself?
I've been playing since beta and beyond. So yeah,
And
I feel like I'm fairly
beyond.
experienced. Beta and Beyond. It's the name of my computer store. Beta and Beyond.
Really? So what have you
No.
been up to this week in Guild Wars 2 since you've been playing it for such a long time, and it's just gone 2 years that it's been out
Yeah,
for?
I've been well, like a couple of weeks ago, I finished my ascended year for my ranger, and then sort of after that, my target was the Quiver of Swiftlight, the ascended back piece. So
Yeah.
that's what I sort of finished probably about a week and a half ago.
Has that been a lot of grind to get through to?
Oh well, yeah, a lot of grind, yeah, and a lot of collecting materials, a lot of orichalcum, and a lot of blood. It takes powerful blood, which is just ridiculously expensive. So I've been
Everyone
gathering all
loves
that.
that crafting grind. I've been doing something similar this week as well. I've been
Yeah.
taking some time with the feature pack dropping to catch up on some of the crafting you can do from the last Living World update. And I've been going ahead and creating my cultivated vine back piece. So I've got a little for any of you that play Guild Wars 2, I've got a little Mordrum type vine that sits on my back. I'm a little uneasy with it though, because I keep getting this feeling that it's just going to strangle me when I'm not looking. It's just going to creep round
It's
and
got
cut off.
history. It's got
It's
history for strangulation.
it does. It's a little. I'm not sure about it, even though I play a Sylvari. I'm not entirely sure that it's not going to just, it's going to turn on me. It feels a bit
Oh yeah,
vicious. I'm a
definitely.
bit uneasy with a Mordrum
It's a
backpack.
matter of when rather than if, I think, to be honest, with the strangulation.
I think so. I mean, I want a Modry, but yeah, I don't, yeah, I'm not entirely convinced that it's not going to turn, and then there's going to be bad times.
Well,
But
that's the thing. I've had the thing of finishing this Quiver of Swiftlight, and then they release the big bear backpack for the crafting thing, and I spoke to you yesterday. I'm torn because I've spent so long on this quiver, And they release a backpack with a bear on it. God, how am I supposed to resist that? It's got a freaking bear on it.
Let's be honest, you play Guild Wars 2, you're basically a tool of the backpack maker.
Exactly. And yet
that's what I am. I am a tool of the backpack maker. Put a backpack in, done. My bank is half full of backpacks. I don't have enough characters to use them. I have 3 copies of the game just so I can have backpacks lined up in a row. 3 screens, backpacks all the way.
It's the modern addiction.
It really is.
It's tearing the community apart.
But as we've said, Guild Wars 2 is just about reached 2 years, and they've had a major feature pack of release on their roughly on their 2-year anniversary. The feature packs brought loads of stuff, but what we do normally when we come to the Convergence show, when we talk about Guild Wars 2, which we're talking about mostly this week, is we're going to go over some of the major news topics. So the feature pack itself was a big news topic. There was a lot of reaction from the feature pack. There were a number of YouTubers who released videos. Within the Guild Wars 2 community, if you guys don't know, there was one particular video that summed up the reaction of a lot of the existing player base. I'll probably post it into the chat at the moment, but Magic Mike is the gentleman's name, and suffice to say, it is sarcastic. Have you seen the video?
I have. It's absolutely fantastic. Like, because you could start watching it, and if you didn't know any better, you'd be like, "Oh, well, he seems to quite like it." And then as it goes on, you're like,
I did the very same thing. Yep, did exactly that thing.
He's got
turned it on.
Opinions on it.
Exactly. I turned it on. I put it in my pocket. I started watching it, but I didn't watch it. I was listening to it, thinking, yes, walking along.
Yeah.
Half the way through, I'm like, there's no interpretive dance in this game. He's being sarcastic.
If you want to please the cows, you gotta dance for the cows. They don't want feeding anymore. They want dance.
No tipping either. Can't tip a cow.
No tipping. 0% tip.
Although that could just be an urban myth. I hear rumours. Tipping cows can't actually do it.
I'm a city boy, so I don't know. I don't know about these rural pastimes.
I'm from Glasgow. We have cars. You can't tip a car.
Yeah.
I know that much. You
well,
can't
I know
tip
that in
a
Scotland, most of your cows are incredibly hairy and have massive horns. That's my perception of every cow in Scotland. So
all of them, exactly. That's exactly what it's like. Just rambling in the street corner, it's fine.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
You're like, get out of the way! I'm trying to get to work.
I'm more like, I'm trying to get to work. More like that.
Got the accent.
That's all right. I feel it's going to be that sort of show. We've also when the feature pack launched, there were a number of bugs that came out. There were some really awesome bugs that came out. There were some less awesome bugs. One in particular was the naked norm bug. Some of you may have seen it, some of you may not. Within the community, it was found that there were some particular models on the lighter note that didn't necessarily go ahead and show quite the right way. Let me see if we can find that for you. I'm just going to nip back over here and find it. There we go.
You can have a not safe for work warning.
Yeah, well, this is perfectly suitable for work. There's no man bits. It's absolutely fine. No norm bits. Sorry.
It's a bit of a Ken.
Exactly. It's a Ken.
Kind of thing.
It's a Ken doll bit. It's absolutely fine. So as you can see, you found that there's some fun bugs and there's some not so fun bugs. I'll post the link up to the full set of that on Imager and its original location a little later on. But we did find that there were, as I say, there were some really awesome bugs like that, and there were some not so awesome bugs. Particularly, the game had a set of bugs in it that was having players have to run through a particular change in the way that leveling progress panned out, and that was only supposed to go and apply to your first character.
It's still a bit up in the air about which bits of that are actually bugs and which are intended. You get the kind of feeling that ArenaNet are waiting for the reaction before they tell us which ones are bugs. Like, oh, don't worry about that one. That one was a bug.
It's under the carpet.
So terribly to.
That's the thing. There's been such a there's been such a varied reaction to the feature pack that there've been so many things that have gone not as intended or
Yeah.
have been quite controversial that there's been a lot of to and fro, and there's so much content coming in, it's hard to keep track of exactly what's buggy, what's not
Mm.
buggy, what's fun, what's a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
There's been
definitely.
a lot of community reaction to one of the other feature pack releases, which was the content direction system, or as most people have called it
Yeah.
within the game, the compass. The new
Mm.
compass within the game, which directs new players to particularly go somewhere, has confused quite a few people. I think that's
And not
probably
just
the
that,
right word for it.
it sent them to areas like Frostgorge Sound, which is a level 80 area when they're level 1. So yeah, it's confusing to say the least, dangerous possibly.
Dangerous. Do you think it's
Well,
all part of a deliberate attempt by ArenaNet just to kill
oh
new
yeah,
players as they come in, make them
it's
realise they need
teaching
to
them a
play
harsh
hardcore?
lesson about reality. Reality will occasionally kill you with a level 80 Minotaur. That's what the lesson is trying to teach them, I think.
And that's why you can't
And
tip
they need to
cows.
learn that early, I think.
Can't tip a Doliac. That's what they're trying to teach
No,
people. You cannot tip a
exactly. Yeah, no
Doliac.
tipping level 80 Doliacs
Exactly. They
because you'll
will.
get
If you
sent onto your ass.
and frankly, we learned that the hard way in Scotland. Seen
Yeah,
those big hairy cows? They're not as nice as they look.
yeah. They're disgruntled to say the least.
Exactly. We also had a number of other issues that came in with the feature pack. Again, some good and some bad. The feature pack that came in made some major changes to the wardrobe system, which we touched on last week with Sam with Pseudo. The wardrobe
Mm.
system is allowing players particularly to be able to show their mini pets pretty much wherever they are. Rather than having to run to a bank to pick up a mini pet and then keep it in your inventory, it's now a cosmetic item. So you can pretty much
Yeah.
just click on a wardrobe anywhere in the world and bring a mini pet out. It had a massive impact on the economy. I think I'm fair
Oh
in
yeah.
saying that. And the mini pet prices, they all skyrocketed. But that was expected. What was less
Yeah,
expected
absolutely.
was probably, I'd say, the culling that a lot of players found.
Mm.
A lot of players found that, I'm guessing unintentionally, that outside of major cities, culling became too aggressive. For any of you that have not seen
Mm.
culling in Guild Wars 2, it was probably most aggressive and at its most prominent during World v World battles,
Yeah.
maybe about a year to 18 months ago, where it would just
I haven't
cut
heard the
players off.
term culling for about that amount of time, and suddenly culling's back in fashion.
In fact, it is. It's come back in. Maybe I don't think it's a concerted attempt somehow by ArenaNet. But what
No.
it was doing was it was culling mini pets to try and improve game performance outside of cities. But I believe the game. I'm guessing the game was probably culling too intensively.
I think that
I
was the
don't think it
reaction,
was
yeah. And it was
intended,
culling
certainly.
people's own mini pets. People wanted because they spent time getting these mini pets, and then because of culling, they can't even see their own, which is peeing them off, to say the least. I think you spend so long trying to get this mini pet, you spend thousands of gold on it, and then it just disappears at your feet.
Ah,
I
thousands
would
of
be a bit
gold.
irritated.
That's a
Thousands of
horrible
gold.
feeling. And
Mm.
there's me, especially if you've got a really, in fairness, it will annoy people. I mean, especially if you've got a fairly limited one, or you've been, opening Black Lion chests for ages,
Mm.
or you've got one
Yeah,
from way back that you want to show off, like I have a Mr.
yeah.
Sparkles. I love my Mr.
Oh, lovely.
Sparkles. I love
I
Mr.
have not
Sparkles.
got a Mr. Sparkle.
I did. I was
I've got
very,
about
very lucky.
I've got about 8 separate Queen Jenners, but
Have you got any
no
of
Mr.
those
Sparkle.
resin priest of
Oh, I've
really?
got one or two of those as
Well,
well.
just one or two, yeah.
Just
I
one or
could,
two, yeah.
I could really use a way of getting rid of those. I think
Well,
everyone in the game could.
yeah, you should read the patch notes because there's a recipe now with the latest feature patch.
There
You can
is? I didn't
put
know
them
that.
into you can put them into the Misty Forge. I can't remember what the recipe is, but you put them in there. I think you get obsidian shards out. I might be wrong.
You get obsidian shards from resin priests. I'll have to check
Yeah,
that one out. I didn't actually see that on the patch notes, and that would. It's more useful
well,
than 16
it's like
resin priests.
Oh yeah, it's like one line, and it just says Risen Priest of Balthazar can now be put into the trade, not the trading post, the into the toilet essentially. So yeah, you can throw them all in there and be done with them, as far as I'm aware.
Exactly where they should go.
Oh yeah, because Zomoros needs tiny little Risen mini priests of Balthazar.
But in general, the mini patch, it's now the mini patch. That is it. It shall forever now be known as
Mini
the mini
patch.
patch. Yes, damn it.
For a mini pirate.
Exactly. I could use a mini pirate. In general, though, the feature patch that's come out, it's had a number of changes. I mean, from everything from the wardrobe system through to the commander's tag through to the new player experience, it's had a very varied, it's had a very mixed reaction. What's your thoughts in
Absolutely.
general being on the feature patch? Bearing in mind it's had such a wide range of changes that it's
Mm.
made.
Well, I mean, I wrote my own post about what my opinion of the level gating is. I think it's a bit too. The level gating particularly goes a bit too far in what it tries to do, and I think it ignores the. I think it sort of ignores the sort of old player experience. It's the new player experience, but it can just as easily be an old player experience, and I think it ignores that. And I had I was quite opinionated on that when it first dropped, and I was quite angry about it. But since then, I think I've softened my opinion. I've seen a lot of the posts on Reddit, which have said, actually, guys, this makes sense. Leveling is faster. This comes in at a time when it makes sense. This is not. You shouldn't see it as level gating, but more as a guide.
Hmm.
And whilst I think, yeah, that's great, I think I'm still a little bit skeptical about it. I think it removes a lot of the freedom that sold Guild Wars 2. What Guild Wars 2 was supposed to be was the game that threw away a lot of the traditional MMO archetypes, like hiding things behind levels, and they seem to have brought that back in, which I think that made people quite angry. But the level gating aside, I like the crafting backpacks. I
I
like my bear
love this.
backpack,
You just love
and
your bear.
I love my bear, and I love the collections. I think the collections are fantastic. Like I was in one of the Char lands, Diessa Plateau or Blaze Ridge Steppes or something, and I randomly spoke to a Karma vendor there, and I just decided to buy just a cheap trinket. It was a Scripture of Dwayne, and buying that like unlocked a whole adventure collection to go and find lots of different scriptures from lots of different gods, and like.
Yeah. What?
I would have never bought that item unless I thought maybe that's a collection. So I bought it, and now I'm probably going to have to go around and find the scriptures of Gwent
Have
and the
you
scriptures of Balthazar.
now? That's actually hits on something I noticed earlier while I've been going through and getting my Modry. That
Mm,
the game is the being ArenaNet looks like, from my point of view, while I've been playing through, the Modry run was making me go back to places that, as a World v World player, I'd never been to before. As a PvE
mm,
player, if I had played the game for world completion, I may have only been to complete the map and then gone away. It
yeah,
feels like some of the changes, like the backpack and the crafting changes, are trying to entice people in to going back to places they may have been to once or twice, or they may
yeah,
not have been to before, to go and particularly get stuff, because although it's a step, like you said, it's a step away from play how you want, because
yeah,
the items are almost, I wouldn't say gated, but they are certainly, okay, let's use the term gated behind certain types of playstyle and content.
yeah,
What it does is it kind of draws you through areas. I've done jumping puzzles that
mm,
would never have done before as a World v World player to get that module backpack, and to get the collections. I will probably go around and do map completion, and I would never have done that. In fact, I flat out at one point said I would never do map completion. I've played it for 2 years.
You're gonna have to
I have
eat your
not got
words
full
now.
world completion yet.
Oh dear, what's wrong with it? I've got it twice. So
With your
but
exploration.
oh no.
No, I'm not that
I
Bardo
know.
type.
Oh well, yeah. Well, if I'm being forced to explore World v World, you should be forced to come and explore the PVE section as well.
That's a
But
horrible,
yeah,
horrible
I get
concept.
what you mean. I think the mega servers did a lot to populate the lower level areas
Mhm.
anyway. So perhaps these collections are you're just encouraging people to come even further and experience the sort of new lease of life that the lower areas have received. Because if you're a level 80 player, there's no reason for you to go unless you're doing a meta event boss or you're helping your friend or something. There's no reason for you to go to the low level areas, really, unless you're feeling adventurous and just want to take a look about.
True. We've also had some further news with the feature patch come out, so we'll try to wrap up the news before the half-hour mark. The World v World Fall Season is coming shortly, and World v World Fall Season has had a post in the forum, so I'm going to drop that into the chat. I'll just stick the news link into the chat. But in general, are you looking forward to the new World v World season and the changes that it's bringing in?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm the kind of such a casual World v World player, and like I don't think I've ever bought a golem to then go and experience the golem siege line. But so some of the specific changes I probably won't impact me too much. But in general, the last World v World season I really enjoyed. It was particularly tense because I'm on Aurora Glade, and we were like, at the end of the season, we were on the very cusp of getting the next reward tier. So we had that last week of like absolutely just grinding out those final few points. So I'm looking forward to the shorter season, hopefully having that kind of intensity from start to finish.
I think
the first week and a half were good, and then the middle weeks was meh, and then the last was good. So smush them together, and hopefully we'll have something that really sort of holds up from start to finish. That's my hope.
I think you're relatively on the ball as to where I am with it. I mean, I am very much a World v World player. That's where I started playing the game. I played that for the last couple of years. Not so heavily as much now, but it's what I love doing. And the World v World game is great, and I love playing the seasons. It's great having a kind of tournament league style structure where you get to see who's best, but there is always a huge spike and up and down in population. It can kind of make things more turbulent, and having that short season, it should hopefully make things more exciting with people actually wanting to play the whole week through and play the win. There were people prior to last season who would tank, who would deliberately lose to get particular positions. A short season should hopefully mean that people just want to get in, want to win, and there's no mid-season boredom, which we saw a lot of people kind of peter off halfway through the season. From my point of view, anyway, that happened quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that it will bring a lot of people who haven't done World v World to get more involved. I think that's probably one of the reasons they do it. And teach them how to do it so that they're not just dropping in and, say, grinding their badges by doing the jumping puzzle over and over again or something like that. Come in and actually experience it, because it can be a lot of fun. I mean, I think when I jumped into World v World the first time, I didn't have any kind of voice communication with any commanders. So you're dropped in and it's quite bare. You're standing in the sort of your home spawn, and it's like, well, where do I go now? And you can try and go and whack on a door of a keep or something for half an hour and try and get in if you want to. But I think hopefully this new influx of players, where lots of people are coming in together, they can learn together, and commanders can take charge and teach them together, to really sort of grow it in popularity.
Yeah, and
I suppose the bad thing of it is that it is a wild switch from normal World v World levels, and then suddenly, poof, 100 times people coming in, 1,000 times people coming in to come and do the thing. So it's a bit disruptive, but good nonetheless.
And with the changes that we've seen with the commander tag, hopefully, I'm hoping that will lead to a bit more, with a larger population coming in as well, the ability for the commander tag to be used more tactically than we've seen previously, with just big balls of people going around and going, meh.
I mean, what's your preference? What's your colour preference?
Well, if we had pink, I would use it, but since we don't, purple's the nearest I'm getting, so I'm going with purple. I'm going to be the purple commander when I tag up, and we're going to go in and we are going to wreck with purple.
Do you think people will be like? I mean, there were suggestions that there would be, purple denotes a an attacking group, and yellow denotes a defending
I've
group, or
seen
do you
a
think it will
couple.
just be they
I've seen
choose?
several servers try to set that up, but end of the day, it becomes quite difficult. You have to get particular people in who want to play that way. You have to get you
Mm,
have to get the right commanders in to do that job.
yeah,
Certain people don't like playing a particular playstyle. I mean, a lot of commanders don't like defending. A lot of people don't like just
yeah,
using themselves as bait. It becomes quite problematic. So it's not panned out that way as yet. It might do in the long run, but as yet, I don't
mm,
think that's going to happen. Um, but we will see. As it stands at the moment, we've seen some other World v World speculation kicking about the forums as well. At the moment, we've seen some speculation regarding some changes that people have been proposing, and I think quite cool. With the
yeah,
shorter change to World v World, we've seen some players propose that the Edge of the Mists and the Borderlands get swapped around so that the
right.
Edge of the Mists
So
becomes the Borderland map for World
Borderlands,
v World,
that would be
which
crazy.
that would be, I actually think as a World v World player would be awesome, but it split a
It,
lot of people. I'm going to put the thread
mm,
into the go ahead and put that thread into the chat just so that everyone can see it. But in all honesty, I would think that's an amazing change to see. The vertical,
yeah,
although the way people, there's been a lot of discussion about how people think that map is the Edge of the Mist is a bad PvP map. I think that's got a lot to do with the way that people view the current way that World v World should be played.
yeah,
But
makes sense.
so you go on.
Well, I was going to say, well, I thought you were going to say it's the way that Edge of the Mist is used currently, which is essentially a place to kill champions
Mhm.
and try and avoid running into other players' zergs. It's essentially a PvE area at the moment. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be interesting to see what experienced World v World commanders could do with a map like that. Because as you said, it's got a lot of verticality, a lot of variety in the type of sort of features that it's got, like the different keep lords having different buffs or different sort of area effects, like the slowdown in the ice area and things like that. I think it'd be really interesting to see how that would work
Mm. I,
across this sort of proper
I think
community.
for a lot of the more hardcore World v World players as well, the change would be immense just to get some real massive change in the way that they actually have to play. And we played Afterlife I lead. We played the Edge of the Mist during beta. We had the Edge of the
Mm,
Mist beta, and we were in that from the start, and we were playing through that. And when we played through that, we played against a lot of World v World players. So that was the focus. ArenaNet brought in World v World guilds to test that map prior to it
yeah,
being used in its current fashion. And we found that tactically, when you got a couple of good commanders in, it became quite an exciting map. You could send players under the map to go around behind people and come
mm,
back out with Havoc squads, and it could be really, really tactical. But the way that it's currently used mean that people don't think it's a very good PvP map. It's
yeah,
a really interesting map. It's just the fact that people have become stuck to a particular sort of game style, and they're used
mm,
to that. And Pseudo, if you are watching, you're going to be coming into World v World with me. Maybe not on Sunday, but soon. Pseudo's going to be rolling a new character. She's chosen a Char, and she's going to be rolling a character. And maybe, well, she wants to be big and hairy. That's her decision.
yeah. It is, yeah. Like the cows in Scotland.
I'm not going to go. I'm not going to. I don't trust her now. You've just made that link in my head. I don't trust her
Oh,
now.
sorry, I didn't
She's a,
mean to do that.
I'm either that or I'm going to keep trying to knock her over now. I'm just going to start. I'm going to continually stun or char. That's going to.
As a PvE player, I immediately think armor clipping. That's my main issue. Armor clipping, chart armor clipping.
I
So
think
yeah.
bigger target. But that's the PvP player.
Mm,
Coming after the next World v World season, we're gonna have the next 11 story season, and that's not going to start until November the 4th, I believe that was released
yeah.
by ArenaNet,
Mm,
and that's quite a way away. We're actually
yeah.
moving
Yeah.
it.
Long time.
I mean, we're looking at how many weeks is that now? I actually would have to sit and count. But there's one, two, that's a month and
It's
four
about
weeks
eight.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
So
quite a way
2 months.
away. Do you think ArenaNet have actually got anything ready to go? And if they've got anything ready to go, do you think with such a
I
long
think
wait, do you think they know
it is
what
a
they're going to
long
do?
time. I think they're hoping that the collections and the World v World season will hold us over until October um, for the Halloween stuff.
Do you think that's a
That's my thoughts.
Do you think that's a deliberate attempt so that players will go into World v World during the season to give it absolutely no real competition for player interest for ongoing events?
I mean, during the last season, the Living World. In fact, was it almost tied in with the Living Worlds, or was that the Edge of the Mist stuff was
The
tied in with the Living World?
So there was a bit of Edge of the Mists when it launched that was tied into the Living World. So Scarlet ended up having her Aether Blades and the Edge of the Mist, and you had to follow through the portals to investigate why the Aether Blades were in Edge of the Mists.
Yeah,
World v World has unsuccessfully had a bit of the Toxic Alliance in it as well, but that
right.
didn't go so well with World v World
Did really
players.
well.
They
Yeah,
didn't really take to that very much. And maybe that's a deliberate, maybe that's the result of that. Maybe
I think
that
it's
is.
useful to keep them separate
hmm And
because
cool.
it's like it's a controlled area. Then you know what I mean. But carry on. You go on. You go on. Sorry.
That's all right. I know I was going to say something similar to you. I do think that at the end of the day, from my point of view, think it's a deliberate attempt by ArenaNet to separate those two out, so that you don't have too much competing competition for player time and for player interest.
Yeah,
World
absolutely.
v World's it's a very short window this time. Having a living world update at the same time, it's going to split player attention. It's going to split dev time as well for things like if anything goes
Absolutely.
wrong.
Yeah.
And there's enough, to be honest, that's kind of gone wrong with this feature patch that if you can imagine the feature patch and a living world dropped at the same time, it would it would not be good
It would be
times.
a nightmare.
It would be all the crunch time at ArenaNet all the time. Um,
All the time. 100%
exactly.
crunch, 0% anything else. Yeah, I
Crunchies.
think that's probably a very good
So
point. I think that it probably is. It probably worked out quite well for them because they have this sort of time before October when the thing comes and they can say, okay, the period between feature patch and Halloween is World v World time. Don't do anything during that time. Allow people to focus on World v World.
yeah, you hear that, kids?
Allow
World
people
v
who
World. You're signed up to World v World now. Come and
okay,
poke
fine.
things with
Well,
pointy
we're
sticks.
probably on. I think we're probably on different servers, so I'll see you on the
One of my
battlefield,
accounts,
boy.
certainly, you'll see one of them. I have many accounts. It's got to that
Many
stage now.
across many servers.
Well, I've got to have one for the
Yeah.
NA, and then I've got to have one for the EU, and then I've got to have
Oh
another
yeah.
one because I accidentally bought it instead of buying a gem card.
That's very irresponsible of you.
Sure. All of the money, well, not really, not so much. All my characters are
No.
broke.
Yeah, me too.
But but what we did find is with a lot of the stuff that's come out recently with the feature pack, with the announcement about World v World, with the announcement about the new Living Story, there's been a lot of activity on the forums, on Reddit and on Twitter, Facebook, through social media. And a lot of people have been trying to give feedback. There's been a lot of complaint, let's be honest, about
Yeah.
the way that ArenaNet have communicated back to players. But I'd like to take another view on it, and that actually, I could complain quite a lot about the way that a lot of players communicate back to ArenaNet. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
we're moving into a section now called that we're hopefully in the future going to call the skill tree. It's going to look at helping give players advice and guides on how to play the game and other things that are useful. But something that occurred to me while we were looking at this part of the show was that when you look at the amount of feedback that's out there on the forum and the way that it's constructed by people, it's no wonder that people feel that they're not being listened to sometimes when they communicate the way they do. So what we're going to do now is
Absolutely.
we're going to go over, I hope, some useful feedback about, well, some useful feedback to the community about how to give constructive criticism, particularly within the forums. What kicked me off thinking about this was, I've got to be honest, a forum post that said, "You just made my 6-year-old cry." And that is how to not start a forum post.
Absolutely.
I mean, have you seen,
Ridiculous
I
post.
mean, what's the worst forum post you've seen, if you can think of one?
Oh, I can't think of
Putting you on
like
the spot.
honestly. Honestly, I'm one of the guys who doesn't go to the official forums. It's just it's a very strange place, full of a lot of people who like to complain a lot. I try to avoid it. I go on Reddit, and I think somebody said on Reddit, um, um, that you get like 90% of the posts on there are saying I'm a new player. Particularly after this patch, I'm a new player and the new experience is crap. And it's like, well, I don't believe you that you're a new player. Why would you a first reaction be to come onto the Reddit to try and speak to people? You're obviously a
In
player
fact,
who's angry
there's
about the new player experience
the new
and has come
players
on to
are,
pretend.
yes, the new players notice a new player experience as well.
Yeah, which they shouldn't do. If they're a new player, it's just the experience. It's not like a new player experience. It's just their experience. Why would they even bother to come and post on the Reddit about it?
I think
So no, I'm
that's,
not
yeah.
saying they're lying, but I am saying they're lying.
It's a very suspicious new player that knows
Yeah,
exactly
it's a
where
very,
Reddit
very.
is.
If I had a beard, I
If
would
I
still.
had a beard, I feel like we need real blank space on with his beard, but he's busy playing Arcade for 24 hours at the moment.
I'm
Cammy, at
paying
the
for everything,
moment,
actually.
Josie is actually ill, so I am in charge. I am in
You've got
charge.
the power.
I'm
I've been told to troll him as much as possible,
well,
so I'll try and do that.
apparently it's not going so well for you. It's fine. I have too many things going on. I'd be so easy to troll right now. One
Yeah.
wrong word, and I just fall that way. I'd fall off my chair. I'd be done, and the show would be in
Who's that in
limbo.
the door behind you? Who's that?
So
Behind the door behind you.
the rouser.
Oh no, there's no one there.
Damn
So
you!
annoying.
Damn you, sir! And I just thought you were talking about the rouser. But getting back on topic, there's an art to writing feedback, and what I'd like to do is give a little bit of constructive criticism about how to give feedback, how not to give feedback, and that opening salvo, your post thread, if you're giving feedback on something that you don't like, is going to be it's going to be the first thing a dev reads, and it's going to be the first thing that a community coordinator reads, because usually it's the community coordinator or the forum admin that goes through the posts. It's not normally the devs that read the posts directly. You'll find that maybe in certain forums and certain posts, the devs will read them, like the collaborative discussion initiative that devs are tasked to, but you're not going to find they're going to read that all the time. The community coordinators, community managers, forum admins, they act as a buffer and they're going to filter out stuff. So if you scream, I'm a total moron in your thread title, then they're going to just ignore that straight out the bat. So try and have something that gets to your point, whether it just be suggested improvements to such and such, or I feel there's a problem with such and such. That that literally is perfectly acceptable opening forum title. It may sound like it's common sense, but when you read a forum post that starts with "You made my 6-year-old cry," I'm fairly sure that needs to be said at this point.
Yeah,
Um,
I think. Yeah, think about it. Come on.
mhm. I think there's a number of things that come into forum posts as well, and they go over things like post construction, spelling, length, grammar. I mean the common sense things, and again it has to be said, common sense I think is going to be spelling, grammar, and sentence construction. You don't need to be able to write huge amounts and big essays, but you need to make yourself clear. I think clarity is something that's missed a lot of the time on forum posts,
Mm,
especially on the official forum and on Reddit, I think.
yeah, because I mean, these people are busy. They're busy people. Let's be honest. They've got a lot of stuff to do. And if you go in and your opening gambit is, "Hi, let me give you a 3 or 4 paragraphs describing who I am to put all this in context." They might not necessarily get through all that. So perhaps start off by saying, "I'm here to give feedback on X. This is my problem with it, and this is, and then you can give the reasons why. You can put the perhaps a bit fluff around it to give it context. But a lot of people start their posts with 2 or 3 paragraphs of description, and sort of flowering it up a bit,
Hmm.
but that's probably not going to make it to the devs. They don't. They might care about it, but they don't have time for that kind of thing a lot of the time, I find.
I think that's actually a fairly from I'm not a community coordinator, and I think this is something that we can probably pick up when we speak to potentially the community team at a Eurogamer. But from my point of view, having spoken to a number of them, a classic mistake is a lot of preamble. If you've got a
Mm.
forum admin who's spending their day going through a lot of stuff to see 3 pages of text, and I have seen 3 pages of text
You
about
know who
who
you
some.
are, posters.
Well, I know who they are. A fairly good friend that's not playing Guild Wars at the moment, but I have seen them put up pages of text about who they are, what their experiences in gaming is, why they should be listened to. That preamble is just either going to be skipped or it's going to stop someone from reading it halfway through. It does make a lot of people stop
Mm.
reading it. And to be honest, if someone's compiling information for a developer, like you've said, they're busy. So getting to the point is going to be fairly important without being rude. And again, that's another common sense thing that needs to
Yeah.
be said. Don't be rude. Understand how things sound when you write them. Make it writing things that sound like demands are gonna again put people off. It's the same way as speaking to someone at the end of the day. If you end up shouting at someone, someone's not going to listen to you.
Yeah, precisely. And remember
Another
that, I mean,
cool.
it sounds very cliched. It's a person on the other end of the line at the end of the day, it's a human being. So, you know, just because you're on the internet and anonymity affords you a certain sort of buffer, a certain sort of separation from them, doesn't mean that you can not treat them like a human being, like you would do any day of the week on, you know, in real life.
Exactly. Another thing that we were talking about though was we were talking about keeping things concise. Within keeping things concise, structure is very important. So when it comes to feedback, I'm going to come from personal opinion, personal experience here. Things that I use and tools that I use when giving feedback are having having a set structure. So I'll tend to use headings if you can use them. Use bullet points if you can use them. Don't be afraid of shortening long blown out sentences into a short bullet point, because at the end of the day you're still going to get to the same end result. Don't be afraid of sectioning things up into this happened, this is how I feel, and this is what I would like to happen. And that using that sort of structure is something I tend to do a lot. Is tend to be this happened, that's one section. So any problems, anything you don't like, this is particularly what it is. Frame what you're saying without too much preamble.
Yeah,
This is the
absolutely.
problem with it. Second section, these are the suggestions to improve it. And having a set structure that you go by generally tend to keep you concise. Within each of those, again, I'll use bullet points, and bullet points are great. Preamble doesn't necessarily don't mean you have to get rid of preamble, but I tend to bullet point a lot of the stuff that I'm feeding back when I feed it back, because it allows people to pick out the main points, and then I will, rather than have preamble, I will ramble at the end of it. So if I want to have room to talk, someone can pick the bullet points and then read my more general feelings afterwards. Hell, I even use headings called general feedback so that someone can just go, right, forget about that and ignore it.
This
because
is what I want to know. Yeah.
Exactly, because you might not have time for general feedback. Other than that, tone of it is very specific. I think, I mean, how do you react? Well, when someone goes, this is how you fix it, that doesn't sound like this is
No. Well, first of all, you're speaking to people who have probably, you know, years of experience, you know, and you're saying that your experience, your anecdotal experience, trumps that and supersedes that when you say this is what you must do to fix this. That's essentially what you're saying.
I say it sounds very demanding, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure how well that would go down, but you know, I think devs do want to hear about your experience, but you have to be reasonable about it, and you have to sort of be measured about it. I think my camera might have broken, by the way.
I think your camera might have gone slightly, but what we're going to do is we're going to continue on. We're going to look at that amazing picture of Will, looking really concentrated, and he's gone. We've lost him. It's not a show without losing someone. So I'm going to look a little weird right now until this all comes back up on Twitch and I can move it all around a little bit. But for now, you have half of me and... Oh, yep, now I see myself. I am everything. If Will comes back, then we will get him. If not, then I will.
I am still here, I think.
I think we're gonna... What we'll do is we'll move to... Nope, that's not gonna work either. One moment while we just try and see if we can get this up and running. Well, we'll see if we get you back, Will, at any point in time. If not, then we will have to just deal with that. Let's see if we can get me moved around so that we can see my face. There we go. That'll have to do for now. That's a lovely bit of my my background there. You can see some little bits of stuff and or things. Will get me out the background quite there. One moment. Bum ba bum. That was always going to happen. It's like I say, it's never quite a show until until everything's We'll call this a bug, and we'll have it patched for next week. And
yeah, absolutely.
That's going to be exactly it.
Okay.
I think that's probably more or less us. We should probably be okay at that stage. So, well, you're going to be a talking non-head. You're going to be yes. Well, we've only got like 10 minutes left. I'm sure we can get by as it is, and we'll cut to the two-way, and hopefully we'll be fine. So I think the general opinion on that is kind of like, be structured, be to the point. Don't be demanding. And try and always give suggestions. You'll have issues ongoing, and you'll have things that you want to say, but try and be constructive. Try and give suggestions, because otherwise you're not going to get your feedback heard, and feedback's no use to anyone if it just says things are wrong and doesn't give suggestions for how to fix it. It doesn't allow for other people to then continue on, and it is hard to go through that sort of stuff. So try and make it easy for the people that are parsing that. It makes it more likely your feedback's going to get directly heard as well. So moving out of, do you have any final words about that, Will? While you're still with us
about community feedback, I think people just need to be mature, and people, as difficult as that is on the internet, you know, there's a lot of trolling that goes on. People have to be mature and they have to be reasonable about it. That's all I'd say about it, to be honest. That's
fair enough. So moving on from the skill tree, which we will hopefully have coming back every time we talk about Guild Wars 2, and hopefully we'll have everything from feedback discussion about how to give it, through to how to deal with particular dungeons, combat mechanics, or even just talking you through particular guides that we've found. Hopefully we can be of some use to people when they're playing, and we can bring us into more and more useful feedback as we go on. We're going to move out of that now into our community corner. We're going to take a few minutes at the end of the show just to go through stuff that we found on Reddit, the forums, or in our own communities, just to show you some fun bits and pieces. So there was something that we found on the forums that may have been featured on Points of Interest last week, which was a fan of the Living Story made their very own book based on the Living Story. Have you seen this, Will?
I saw it. I saw the link that you posted to me the other day. It looks absolutely fantastic. I've got to say, I think that looks amazing. And the sort of quality of it, like as in the finish of it, just looks incredible. And they've set it out so well.
Really
and I love the idea. I think it looks fantastic. I would love that.
It really does. And sorry that I thought I had an image of that, and I don't, but hey, we're completely unprepared and it's a total mess, but it's absolutely fine. I saw that as it was. I'm going to put the link in chat since I don't have an image ready for everyone. It's an amazing piece of work, and it's, well, unfortunately, he is a disembodied voice in our heads at the moment. Pseudo. So we're going to see out the last few minutes with just Will's voice in our ears, just soothing us through the last few minutes.
As long as everyone can still hear me.
Exactly, everyone can still hear you. We also found some really cool player-made themed cocktail recipes. We don't unfortunately have any pictures of the player-themed cocktail recipes because no one submitted them on the forums. But I'm hoping the next con that we're at, we'll see some player cocktail recipes. And did you know that at PAX ArenaNet did have some of those made at the fan meet and greet?
Did
So
they?
I'm
I
hope.
didn't know that. That's fantastic. We
Mm,
um we had a Halloween party last year, and we had three bottles. One red one marked health, one blue one marked mana, and then one green one marked rejuvenation, I think it was called. And
rejuvenation.
then they were our three cocktails. So maybe making some Guild Wars 2 themed ones would be quite an interesting thing for this year's Halloween party.
That would be pretty awesome. I'm gonna see if we can take any of those recipes along to
Mm,
Eurogamer and get a few of those made. See if we can
cool.
see how many it takes to find the community team on the floor. Because we are having I believe the devs and the community team for Guild Wars are coming to Eurogamer in a few weeks in
Yeah.
London. Um, we also, and this is a really big one, we've been really big on charity events at MMO Buff. Pink Day in LA is coming up. Well, I think you probably know as much as I do about Pink Day in LA,
Mm.
so I'm going to let you tell people a bit more about Pink Day in LA, which is coming up.
Okay. Well, it's a fantastic event organised by people in Guild Wars, and it's for the sort of lay gamer, it's about wearing pink and participating in a lot of fun events. But actually, it's got a lot of charity behind it. This year, it's on October the 25th, and it's for Extra Life for Kids, which I'm just looking at now, and it's a Play Games and Heal Kids Extra Life 2014 blah blah blah. It's a charity for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and hopefully what they tend to have a sort of a number of radio streams going throughout the day, giving out prizes, and everyone comes wearing pink, and they got in-game events. Last year, I was one of the people standing at a particular point on a scavenger hunt. People had to come and send me stuff before I'd give them the clue for the next place to go. And if you're
How
the first
long?
person to finish,
How long were
then
you
you get
doing that for?
hours,
Hours
hours
and
standing
hours?
next to the docks in Lions Arch. Yeah, and I had a really difficult clue. Like what they had to do for my clue was post me something pink from in game. Um, but people were coming up and throwing the stuff on the ground, or like spamming it in chat, and I was like, I can't. I was strictly told not to tell them exactly what to do, but just to give them just the clue that I've been given. And so I was like, I had about 20 people surrounding me, like, what do we
Oh,
do? And I was like,
it's all
post
the
it to me,
rage! All the rage,
please,
man.
just somebody post. And then when one person got it, they're like, what did you do? And they were like, I'm not telling you. So yeah,
Stroke,
it
stroke his and beard and walk away. I've
yes,
always thought,
exactly. It was fun for me because I got to troll a lot of people. And it looked a lot of fun for the people involved. And they've been doing it for years and years and years. It was happening during Guild Wars 1 as well.
hmm,
And I remember it there. I wasn't as involved at that point. I just remember participating as a player, and it being really good fun dressing in pink for a day. So yeah, I think you definitely have to look into it if you're an avid Guild Warser, and definitely give them a bit of money because it's a fantastic cause as well.
it is. And if purely for selfish reasons, they give away some awesome prizes.
They
Usually
do give
collector's
away a lot
editions
for it.
in there. Usually a bit of some mini pets, gold in the game.
Mm.
Usually the odd Char plushie here and there get given away.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I believe there was a dragon toaster at one point. Or maybe
Really?
that's
I
just
missed that. That
oh,
sounds fantastic.
some amazing prizes, and we've actually managed to get our hands on a dragon toaster. It's sitting in our kitchen right now. It's amazing.
Nice. I didn't
It's
even know dragon toasters existed.
it
That's
says
fantastic. I
it's
love
a
dragon
it's a
toasters.
toaster. It toasts a Guild Wars 2 dragon in. I'll put a picture. I will make dragon toast for the next time we talk about Guild Wars, so that everyone can see a picture of the dragon toast.
Cool.
Operation Dragon
That's
Toast is
fantastic.
on.
I am
But do please,
so
people,
jelly.
have a look at Pink Day in LA. The link's in the chat. I hope I will be able to do some streaming over that on MMO Buff. I'm fingers crossed, assuming that I'm not comatose in a gutter somewhere. Which being Scottish, it's either that or I've been attacked by
Or
a cow.
like a cow, a big hairy
Exactly.
horny cow. That horn cow, not
These
horny cow.
these things happen. Um, we also found on the forums that away from our more charitable events that we were looking at, there's also some competition. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of focus right now on competitive PvP events, but they're not the only thing that happens in Guild Wars that's competitive.
Mm.
Currently, Death and Taxes are running a dungeon speed clear tournament. It's an open tournament. It's going to be streaming live September 27th and 28th, so it's in a couple of weeks. Sign-ups, I believe, are still open on the forum, and I'll put the forum link in there. So if you run dungeons a lot, if you think you can speed clear dungeons, then there are thousands of gold available and gems donated by ArenaNet. Obviously not the gold, the gems. The gold, I'm assuming, is coming from Death and Taxes because,
Mm.
well, as you would, ArenaNet, you give people gems. But
Yeah,
sign-ups are
exactly.
open
Yeah,
at the
no,
moment. If you're a PvE focused player rather than a PvP focused player, you have this tournament open at the moment. I think it's a fantastic idea to have the
I
Speed
think it's
Clear
fantastic.
tournament.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing to have a competitive tournament open for PvE players. I mean, I love
Mm.
PvP. I really do. I love World v World, but World v World has seasons run end
Mm.
game with its own reward system. PvP has tournaments run for ESL and the Tournament of Legends and Tournament of Champions. They are all run specifically for PvP players. The PvE players don't get a competitive scene quite like this.
Yeah.
They get
Well, it's
completionist
sort of seen
leaderboards.
that PvE is like softcore. You know, it's kind of like quite soft and fluffy, and I think that actually a lot of PvEers, hardcore PvEers, you know, they want that competitive, that competitive sort of rush that you get from competitive PvP in the PvE environment. So I think
Mhm.
this is an absolutely fantastic idea by DNT.
It,
I really
re-
like it. I'm
it really
terrible at it, by
is.
the way. I can't do speedruns,
I
but I
can't do
really
them
like that
either.
other people are doing it.
I I I literally I do fractals every now and then, and I hate them. I mean, I understand mechanically why they're good, and I
Mm.
can sit there and give feedback on design if I'm sitting in the forums, but I I just it bores the life out of me. But I understand that other people love them, and for people that love things like fractals and doing speed runs through the ether path that is brought in, then this is definitely the sort of thing you want to be looking at. Go and have a look, win thousands of golds, and be the absolute be the top of the
Be
tree
awesome.
because we don't know when it's going to come back or how often it's going to be run, but hopefully we can get in touch with Death and Taxes and at some point
Mm.
they'll let us report on it or let us know when they're going to be doing that more
That would be
often.
fantastic. Yeah.
It would, wouldn't it? As it stands at the moment, that's pretty much all the stuff that took our interest from the community this week. We have a couple of little bits and pieces that we want to throw out there. We talked about the compass really annoying few people. You can get rid of the new compass on the content direction system if you're playing that. You can do that by removing it by deselecting the content guide from the options menu. So you go F11 and then deselect content guide, and that'll take away the content direction system. So if you would just want to go and explore the world, the open world, the way you want to do it, and don't want to follow the content direction system when you're a new player, if you're a new player and you know how to log into Reddit and the forums and compare your experience to the experience you didn't already have and you've already found our show, then you can turn the content guide off that way. Um,
Yeah.
we also found another quick tip that Tasha sent to us before she decided to wander off on holiday. No, she's actually at work. So commiserations
Working
to
hard.
Tasha.
Yeah.
Another one that she sent us was a secret code in the trading post. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it does. I was going to tell you, but I'm not now. If you go to the
Yeah.
trading post, the new trading post, which, by the way, I think is awesome. I don't know,
Yeah.
what's your
Fantastic.
thoughts about the new trading post UI?
I think it's brilliant. I think they've got no complaints about it. The only thing they need to improve is when you're trying to sell a stack of something, the slider defaults to 1, and I think it needs to default to the maximum stuff you have in your inventory. Because every
Yeah,
time I'm trying to sell 10 silk, I have to slide the thing across, and it's a very small thing, but
and
that's the
you have a
only, like,
lot of
literally the only
silk,
thing I'd improve.
don't you?
Yeah,
You have a
selling
lot.
a lot of
If
stuff.
you type into the search bar, I am Evan Nashblade, that's I am Evon Nashblade as in the character spelling of the name, then something will happen. It's pretty cool. Go ahead and give it a try.
It is
I'm
pretty
not
cool.
going to tell you what it does. I'm not going to tell you. As it's coming up to what's actually past 9 o'clock now, so we're past our hour, we're going to start to wrap up the show. All I want to do right now is I want to thank Will for coming in and standing in for Tasha when she's been away. I want to apologize. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you there, Will. Thank you very much for coming. I also want to apologise for Pseudo not being here. I know you've had to put up with my face for the last 15 minutes and our voices and no Pseudo. But Pseudo will hopefully be back shortly. She's just not feeling very well. So if you want to send her good thoughts and drugs, then those would be good. Prescription ones preferably, because
Of course.
that was what I meant. Lots of Calpol. Send her Calpol. Boxes of the stuff.
God.
I used to love Calpol as a kid. The banana flavored one, I could have drunk it all.
Fantastic healing properties Calpol has.
Exactly.
Undeniably.
What I'd also like to do is let you know what's happening next week. Next week, the Convergence will be talking about WildStar. You know that other game that NC Soft launched? Well, do you play WildStar? Have you played WildStar?
What's that? I don't know about that. Other games? There's other games?
There are other games.
I've never played WildStar. I know of WildStar, and I have friends who played WildStar. I myself have not.
I have my deluxe copy there, which is shining away in the light. I just recently resubbed to the game actually. Now there's some PvP changes being made. Resubbed just before the patch hit and broke Spellslingers in PvP. So we're waiting for that to be fixed again for whenever that patch drops, and then I'll be back into PvP and WildStar. And man, dropping back in is harsh after being away for a couple of months. So everything's moved on, and I am so lost. We'll be talking about WildStar. Then the week after that, we will be talking about Guild Wars 2. We are going to be asking you to help us out though for our next Guild Wars 2 show. Our next Guild Wars 2 show is going to be on the same week as Eurogamer Expo in London, and we are going to have an exclusive live broadcast from Eurogamer Expo on Friday. So it's 6 o'clock. Slightly earlier than our usual time. Convergence will broadcast live from Eurogamer and the Twitch booth on the floor. We are also going to have some Guild Wars 2 developers and Guild Wars 2 community team there live on the show to answer your questions. If you've got any questions to ask them about the game, then email them to voice@MMOBuff.TV. I'll put that in the chat. But if you email your question for the Guild Wars 2 devs to voice@MMOBuff.TV, everybody who enters a question to that email address, they're going to get put into a prize draw for some of our awesome Guild Wars 2 swag, which I'm just going to pull some of it up now. So I have some awesome Guild Wars 2 notepads for the Living World.
Nice.
These are really nice looking. I've got a few of these. I've got some super rare llama mini pet codes, which you only normally get through playing PvP. So if you're a PvE player and you want a llama mini pet
I want a llama mini pet.
Everyone wants a llama mini pet, but you have to send a question in. And I also have some of these mice mats, which are super sweet to give away as well.
I want all of them. I'm going to send.
You're going to send all the questions in. Everyone who puts a question in will get entered into a prize draw to win some of that stuff. I'm looking in here and seeing all the awesome stuff. We also have loads of other stuff for giving away to our WildStar viewers as well.
Is there a dragon toaster?
There is not, but ArenaNet might be giving us some swag for Eurogamer as well. So if you watch on the 26th at 6 o'clock, you might win some awesome swag as well. I can't tell you what it is because I'm not in charge of that swag. Pseudo is in charge of that swag because Pseudo is Swagzilla. Other than that,
sure to watch.
Sorry, thank you, please do. Unfortunately, we will have Pseudo back, but we won't have Tasha back for that one. But Tasha will be returning after that. Next week, we don't know who we're going to have. We're certainly going to have myself. We're going to have Pseudo. We may or may not have the Miss Stream. I don't know. It depends how she's feeling and what she's up to, or whether she's in the country or out. But
Yeah.
thank you everyone for coming to the show tonight. Thank you, Will, again for being here,
No, my
and
pleasure.
it's been great having you. And if Tasha's ever ill or in another country or working, God forbid, I think work
Or
is
if
the
you,
worst of those.
oh God.
Then
Yeah, more
we
than happy. It's been very fun. Really enjoyed it.
that's great. Thanks everyone for coming out, and be sure to watch on Monday when we will have another episode of Pseudo's Fantastic Perspective. Thanks for watching. Say bye bye, Will.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.